welcome back. I'm Tonya from Tonya's Witchy Kitchen, and how are you doing today? We went from 60 degrees to, 20, cold. Possible chance of snow. Do they know what it's going to snow? No, they know it's 0 inches or 2 feet. That's all I keep hearing. I don't hear anything in between. So everything's up in the air for the weekend, which is fine, but sometimes I like more definite, meteorologist predictions. Yeah, this time I'm like, they don't know squat. But anyway, since I've started soaping, I've always been fascinated about the discoloration fragrance oils and things that they come up with and they say to do. And so if you have a fragrance that's going to discolor in a lotion, you're supposed to put this vanillin stabilizer in it so it doesn't change color. But I know one of the soapers said she used to do that with her soaps, but they always discolor it eventually down the road. It's like it's a waste of time. And to me, that's just another thing I probably don't need, right? So the lotion looks chocolatey instead of, white. Okay. I don't really color my lotions anyway. Some people make them pink and green and blue, and, I could, make it an easy thing to do in there, but I guess for my lotions, I just don't want to. But anyway, sometimes they'll say your bath bombs are going to discolor, this is going to discolor, this is going to discolor. And I'm like, well, why? So if you know the fragrance oil Pink Sugar, it's a yummy fragrance oil, turns everything supposedly dark brown. Okay, so when I first bought it, I didn't know what I was looking for. I was just looking at fragrance descriptions and making sure they were phthalate free. So I made a bath bomb set, and this is like way back, guys. Okay, and it told me I could use like 38% or 48% fragrance oil, and I was like, well, I can just substitute everything for the oil and I'll be fine, which is what I did. Those bath bombs smelled, holy cow, like the whole house up. I think a year later you could still smell them. Like I had some left, you could still smell the Pink Sugar smell. However, they never did discolor at all. At all. And I've had fragrance oils that say, oh, it's going to discolor to yellow. The body butter never discolors. Never. The lotion turned a little yellow eventually. Yeah. But, it's yellow. Who cares? But, so it was kind of fascinating. And then it's, you start looking at this stuff and why does this do it, but this doesn't, and this didn't, and this did. And I'm like, it's the water. It literally has to be the water content. Because if I do like I did Dark Kisses bath bombs, that's one of the bath bomb fragrance scents. I think it's Dark Kisses is what it's called. Either that or that's what I call it, and it's called something else. But anyway, it's supposed to discolor to dark brown. So the little bit of water in those bath bombs are just a tish darker. They're still white, guys, but they're just a tish darker than the other ones. And I swear, it's just the water. It's got to be the oils mixing with the water, and that's what changes it. Because in lotions, you have quite a bit of water. Body butter, there's no water. The traditional body butter, there's no water. An emulsified one, well, that one might discolor. So in soap making, we have so many fragrance oils that are so much fun to make, but they discolor to high heaven. And then I thought about it and I was like, well, what if it's the water content? Because a lot of us soap with a higher water content, so we get the fluidity and the swirls, and stuff like that. Although I have made a hot process soap, it was cappuccino. It was chocolate cappuccino, which both discolor to brown. And, espresso discolors to high heaven. And it did kind of discolor the soap. But, of course, there's still water in it. And, I thought maybe the hot process would help stem it. But that's been a long time ago. So who knows how I did it. But So I was wondering if in cold process soap, the amount of fragrance oil you use versus the amount of water used, is that going to give us a different discoloration? You know, that's my thought process here. That's what we're doing today. We're doing 2 soaps, working with discoloration and layers and all those things. And I will talk about those in the video. So 3 things. Dream big, be true to you. You are worth it. And let's go check out how this discoloration in water ratios works. Okay, and before we start, I don't want anybody running out and taking a fragrance oil that discolors and making a humongous batch of soap and ruining your soap. I'm just showing you something that I thought was really fascinating about what I found with water discounts and stuff like that. Okay, so this is a layered soap. It's a layered soap. I am using Dark Crystal by Brambleberry, and Dark Crystal discolors to brown, a nice solid brown color. I will show you what their website shows. So to give it a little offset, I decided I was going to use it at 4%. Okay, you know, the maximum usage is higher, but 4% I wanted to see. And so each layer, and then I'm coloring it a little bit of blue. Why? I don't know. I wanted to see it, you know, just to give it a, you know, let's see what happens. It's Klein Blue by NutriSoap. So each little tiny layer that I am doing has the exact same amount of oils, same amount of fragrance oil, same amount of color. The only difference is the water content, okay? So the first layer is 35%. You know, when you put it into the lye calculator and asks you the percentage, 38%. I always soap with 38. I always do 38%. I don't know why. So I decided I'm going to try 35%. That's where we're going at. And 4% fragrance oil. Okay? Nothing else. Nothing else. And so I just wanted to see what it would do. Okay? I've used this fragrance oil before. I've used the same color blue. Oh no, it's not Klein Blue. It's Indigo Girls. I am sorry. It's Indigo Girls. Because a couple years ago, I made this soap with this fragrance oil with this color. And let me tell you, it didn't turn out like this, okay? It's a thing. So everything's the same, and then we're adding 1 layer at a time to the mold, and then letting it set up for like, I don't know, about as long as it takes me to make the next layer, which is like, I think I timed it at like 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, so yeah, that thing sucks. But anyway, next layer, same thing. It's the little bit of mica, it's the kaolin clay, it's the oils, it's the fragrance oil, and it's 1 step down. So this layer has 30% water in the lye solution. Okay, so I jumped it to 5. So I went from 35 to 30. And that first layer is definitely set up. I had to tape my mold. That's so PO'd. Yeah, a soaper, you just do what you gotta do, right? Okay, so this is the second layer, and like I said, they've all set up about the same amount of time, okay? Because I basically let it set up as long as it takes me to do that next layer. So they are, you know, they are in this air the same amount of time. They are setting up the same amount of time. The only difference is that water content. Okay, so this next layer, same thing. Everything's in there, you know, da-da-da-da-da-da. And then this one has 25% water ratio, okay? I'm not saying it as like what it shows up. I'm saying what I put into the calculator. Like I put, you know, where you put 38% or you put 3-to-1 for the water to lye. Okay, that's what I put in the calculator was 30%. And then it did. They set up faster. They obviously got thicker faster because of the lack of water. And I wasn't going to do a design because, I had to do layers to show you, what happened with the discoloration. Like I said, this is a 4% usage on the fragrance oil. It's definitely, it's a strong scent. It's plenty. I mean, it's plenty for this. Seriously. And then the next layer is a, so I went 35, 30, 25. The last layer is 20% water. Okay? So, it's funny. The batches actually still came out, the layers still came out pretty close to the same, which is kind of interesting. But same thing. Kaolin clay, fragrance oil, color, and just the oils and 20% water. That's what's in this one. And pour it off just like I did everything else. It poured really nice, I have to say. It was really, even for 25% or 20%. This one's 20%. And then, so, yes, it did get C-popped and gelled. Yes, it did get, all the normal things I've been doing. Nothing different, nothing, okay, not changing anything in my soaping except for just that, little bit of water discount. So you can see already, look at those layers. Look at those layers. Isn't that crazy? There is no brown discoloration on the outside. It stayed blue. I don't know. Oh, I did do the top. The top is so pretty. I'm working on my soda ash. I told you I was. And to cut this now, it's super crazy though. Yeah, that top is pretty. I'll do a little short one of these days on how I'm doing my soda ash or how I'm combating it. But look at those layers. The bottom layer is blue, like blued, gray blue. And then that next layer is very light. And then the third layer has some of that darker blue discoloration to it. And then the top is white. Light. I don't get it. Like, I seriously don't get this, why it did this. I mean, where's the brown, first of all? Okay, where's the brown? And why is that second layer from the top, why does it have that darker color on top? Was it less emulsified than the bottom one maybe? I mean, I guess that could have something to do with it. I don't know. I'm not in any means a chemist. I was just playing around. But where's the brown on this baby? I don't know. It's so weird. So, okay. Now we're going to go to our second soap. Okay, our second soap is Warm Flannel from Brambleberry. I want you to know they both have a 5% vanillin content. They both do. I'm going to use Warm Flannel at 5%. It discolors to dark brown. It says dark brown. The other one said brown. And I am using some Merlot Sparkle Mica with this one just to see. It's a reddish, pretty wine color. Just to see what happens. Okay? That's the only thing. But everything is the same. Okay? Because I'm going to rush through this one pretty fast. Everything is the same. We go from 35% water. The second layer is 30% water. The third layer is 25% water. And the fourth layer is 20% water. Okay? But 5% fragrance oil instead of 4% fragrance oil. And everything else is the same. Kaolin clay, a little bit of mica, and okay? So every layer is the same. Same thing as we did before. That one was a little fluid. And I'm wondering that too, does that make a difference to how fluid the soap is? Does it discolor faster if it's not at a thick emulsion? I don't know. That's not what I was testing here. It's just crazy. And just so you know, I had to mix up the lye water individually, and then put my oils with my kaolin clay and the mica and the fragrance oil together. And then I did cool the lye water in a little container with cold water so I could bring it down to about that 100 degrees, just as the oils were. Okay. And as this goes, like this one's a really thick, not really thick, but much thicker than the first one was. And then this is the third layer. And this, I like the color. It's red, that pretty red. And then by the time the soap hits it and it gets to emulsion, it's still a little red, but it gets to that rust color really fast. That rusty orange. Meaning there's probably not a whole lot of that red that is staying, in the mica. But yeah, like this, it's that pinky color, and then, but below it, it's orange. Yeah, that one's a little thicker. And they do, just because of the lack of water, they're going to be a little thicker. And then I think the warm flannel does cause acceleration, does it? Yeah, it accelerates in cold process soap, which, so, I wasn't doing anything special, so it didn't matter. But yeah, like it didn't thicken up those first two, but, the lack of water and stuff really made a difference as far as the acceleration went. So that's another tip, if you have an accelerating soap, maybe use a little more water. I don't know. You just try and take precautions with accelerating soap, right? We all do. Yeah, see, and I'm just like, okay. But yeah, so it's crazy. Look how pink that is compared to what's in my mold. Like in my mold, it's that brown color, and the soap is a pinky color till it changes. But super thick. And then I just played along with this, super thick. Like, can you imagine soda ash in those crevices? Holy beans. Yeah. Okay, let's get to cutting this one. Okay. Isn't that a beauty? Like, wow. We will see what happens when we cut into this. And of course, if it's going to discolor, the inside is going to be, yeah, like that. So do you see the edges? The whole outer edge is kind of a dark color, which leads me to believe that even though I can see those lines, you can see the layers in there. And that bottom layer is once again darker than the other layers. But being it's got all the discoloration around it, I have a feeling this one's going to totally discolor. Once it cures, it'll be a very dark discoloration like the outside. Okay? Even though we do have layers in the middle, we have no red. There's not much for red. Oh, look at the bottom layer on that one. See if I flip it over. Oh, no, I'm going to show you the edges of it. Yeah, so it's kind of crazy when you look at them. There, you can see those. You can definitely see the layers. See? that bottom layer must have just been too liquid, and I must have broke that plane. Yeah. Weird, huh? Super weird, yeah. So, okay, this one tells me it's going to discolor all the way through. The question is are there any layers left once it discolors totally? And it's interesting. So this was 5% usage, 5% Vanillin, discolors to dark brown. The first one was supposed to discolor to just brown. We had no brown on that one. Like, none. I'm still looking. I'm sorry. I'm watching me do this. So here are the fragrance notes to warm flannel. And here's the soap right after I cut it. You got some layers, but you got that discoloration all over. And here's the soap after it's cut. You can still kind of see the layers. So maybe if you alternated colors. Here is the fragrance notes for Dark Crystal. Here's the soap right after I cut it. Noticed it's kind of a bluish tint, which I used blue mica. But here's it after it's cured. It's kind of a greenish tint. There is no brown on that soap whatsoever. So there are my conclusions to my test. I hope you had a good time. Thank you for dropping by. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.